Meeting to order. Today is Thursday, September 4th, 2014. Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Councilor McCormick?
Here.
Councilor Camardo?
Here.
Councilor Cuddy? Here. Councilor Rusika?
Here.
Mayor Clip?
Here. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You remain standing for a moment of silent prayer or reflection. Thank you. Please be seated. We will move to public announcements from our clerk.
Thanks, Mayor. We do have a few announcements this evening. First is that the Historic Resources Review Board meeting for September 9th has been canceled. The City of Auburn Planning Department did not receive any applications for certificates of appropriateness for the upcoming Historic Resources Review Board meeting on September 9th. Since there are no new applications or tabled applications at this time, the city will be canceling the regularly scheduled September 9th meeting. The next regularly scheduled Historic Resources Review Board meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 14th at 7 p.m. Secondly, September is National Emergency Preparedness Month, and an event to recognize this will be held this Saturday, September 6, 2014, at the Lowe's parking lot on Grant Avenue here in Auburn. The event will be from noon through 4 p.m. On exhibit at this event will be numerous emergency personnel and vehicles from many of our community's public safety and emergency responder departments. There will be emergency preparedness information and free emergency preparedness kits given away to those that attend. The City of Auburn encourages the citizens of Auburn to take part in the event. Third, a public ceremony to commemorate the 13th anniversary of the events of September 11th, 2001 will be held at 8:30 a.m. on Thursday, September 11th, 2014 at the September 11th Memorial on the South Lawn here at City Hall, 24 South Street in Auburn. And the last is just a little of announcement. Final announcement is in regards to our streamlined calendar. We discovered just before this week that there was a slight error that cardboard was listed twice from the last week of August as well as the first week of September for the recycling. What the Department of Public Works has done this week is they've picked up all recyclables that have been out there, both commingled recyclables and cardboard recyclables. However, the announcement that we have for the public is that we will be sticking with what the streamlined calendar says for recycling pickup for the remainder of the year. Next week will be a commingle week, and the calendar is correct for the rest of the year. So there was a little bit of confusion, but whatever recyclables have been out there this week have been picked up by the Department of Public Works. And that finishes the announcement.
Very good. Thank you. Ceremonial presentations and proclamations.
Yes, Mayor, there's a proclamation this evening for National Preparedness Month. Whereas National Preparedness Month creates an important opportunity for every resident of the City of Auburn, New York, to prepare their homes, businesses, and communities for any type of emergency, from natural disasters to potential terrorist attacks. And whereas investing in the preparedness of ourselves, our families, businesses, and communities can reduce fatalities and economic devastation in our communities and in our nation. And whereas the Federal Emergency Management Agency's READY campaign, Citizen Corps, and other federal, state, local, private, and volunteer agencies are working to increase public activities in preparing for emergencies and to educate individuals on how to take action. And whereas emergency preparedness is the responsibility of every citizen of Auburn, New York, and all citizens are urged to make preparedness a priority and work together as a team to ensure that individuals, families, and communities are prepared for disasters and emergencies of any type. And whereas all citizens of Auburn, New York are encouraged to participate in citizen preparedness activities and asked to review the READY campaign's website at ready.gov and become more prepared. Therefore, Michael D. Quill, Mayor of the City of Auburn, New York, does hereby proclaim the month of September 2014 as National Preparedness Month and September 6, 2014 as Community Awareness Day, and encourages all citizens and businesses to develop their own emergency preparedness plan and work together toward creating a more prepared society. All set, Mayor.
Thank you. We will now go to our public to be heard, if we could have our rules and regulations, please.
Sure. At this time, we open the public to be heard portion of the council meeting. Prior to addressing council, speakers are asked to state their name, address, and any group affiliation that may be relevant to your remarks. Remarks should be limited to 3 minutes and concern only issues involving the city council, city government, or matters of general city concern, and all speakers before the council will observe commonly accepted rules of courtesy and decorum.
Very well. Anyone desiring to be heard this evening? Please, Mr. Iconis, please. Either podium, sir.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Frank Iaconis. I'm actually a resident of Virginia, but I'm up here temporarily for the last few months trying to sell my mother's home, the Settler Estate, on Westlake Road in the town of Fleming. And that's principally the reason why I want to address the City Council tonight. There's been innumerable comments to both the county legislature and City Council concerning the deteriorating qualities of Owasco Lake, and I'd like to offer some comments from the perspective of one who has been raised and spent over 50 years on the lake. I've spent the better part of the residency on Westlake Road since my parents bought our first summer cottage in 1957, and what I'll try to provide is a historical perspective as to the deterioration of the water quality in the lake bed of Owasco Lake and how I believe that may eventually affect the water quality coming into the city and the filtration of the city water. When we had our first cottage, you could walk off the dock, set your feet on the lake bottom as if you were walking on a sidewalk. Not now. Now, besides the seaweed growth, if you set foot onto the lake bed, you'll sink nearly 8 inches into the muck that was once solid lake bed. In the 60s and 70s, you could take your boat out hundreds of feet past the marker buoys and still see the bottom of the lake. Not now. More often than not, strange-looking natural materials find their way to the surface of the lake and cause one to pause to decide whether or not to go into the water, and more importantly, should one's grandchildren go into the water. I won't let mine. The folks that put in the docks in the spring and take them out in the fall do not go into the water unless they're wearing chest-high waders. Less than 200 feet from lakeshore, the seaweed growth is so dense and severe that it's impossible to see the lake bed. Current harvesting of the seaweed is like putting a Band-Aid on a patient with open-heart surgery. My father and I witnessed and shook our heads at the installation of a drainage system on the west side of Route 38 that bordered Forest Hill Drive and Mobbs Road and dumped water runoff from farmland untreated into Owasco Lake. That area off Westlake Road was wetlands when I was a teenager. I've seen firsthand how the runoff continues to impact the water quality and the lake bed quality. Every time it rains, you can see the runoff come into the lake carrying nutrients, phosphates, and soil, and it turns the entire area brown in color. When I first moved into the Washington, D.C. area in 1993, there was tremendous outrage in both Maryland and Virginia concerning the water quality of the Chesapeake. Millions of tons of untreated waste from pig farming, chicken farming, dairy farming, and vegetable farming were regularly dumped into the Chesapeake in addition to the normal runoff from just rainwater. The research that was done by the University of Maryland, University of Virginia, and Virginia Tech, and local and state agencies showed that although the lack of proper safeguards from farming was significant, other factors, including but not limited to the following, contributed to the deterioration.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up. This is very important. We're all very interested.
Okay.
But I do have to follow through. And at the same time, if you have a copy of what you're discussing, we'd be glad to distribute it to council.
Just 30 seconds more, Mr. Mayor?
Please.
Okay. As the principal drinking water supply for Auburn and adjacent areas, the supply that comes into the treatment plant has to be processed before distribution. My guess is that the water quality of Owasco Lake has deteriorated, and it has increased the cost of the treatment of the water to the city. How much How much has it increased in the last 10 to 20 years? How much more will increase in the next 10 to 20 years if not dealt with now? I appreciate you allowing me to make these comments. I've got some additional comments that I'll be more than glad to give to you after the meeting tonight, Mr. Mayor. I
good.
appreciate the time.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else desiring to be heard? Yes, ma'am. And we'll need your name and address to begin with, okay?
Yep. My name is Colleen Strabel. I live at 5 Franklin Street here in Auburn. I came here just to personally thank Mayor Quill. I really appreciate you, like I said to you before, turning me on to Norm Davis. There's an incident that went on in my neighborhood. The law pretty much wouldn't do anything about it, so that's when I called you. And like I said, I just really appreciate you turning me on to Norm Davis. I mean, he's helped me out a lot. Encouragement, making sure the neighborhood's okay, checking in with me. I mean, I just wanted to thank you. And thank you, Norm, very, very much. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, you guys.
Anyone else desiring to be heard? All right, Mr. Quill.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, fellow Auburnians. Ron Quill, Case Avenue. As Mr. Mason spoke about a few minutes ago, 1 week from today, we will have a memorial service for those who were killed on 9/11. Please remember that those men and women who put their lives in jeopardy were the same type of people that we have right here in this city. There's, as I look around, there's only 2 former firefighters, the mayor and myself. We have 2 police officers. Every day, firefighters, police officers, emergency people put their life on the line like they did on 9/11. So, if you would, thank them. If you see a police officer, be friendly, wave. They're there to protect you and make sure that we certainly hope that a 9/11 never happens again. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else desiring to be heard? If not, we'll close that portion of the meeting. And is it Colleen? You're welcome to come and say thank you to the mayor anytime you want, so. But,
I just really appreciate it because, like I said, it just felt like it was like a hopeless situation.
Okay.
And then you finally returned my call and it just seems.
Mr. Davis gets,
It's just nice to know that there are decent people in this town because I haven't ran into a whole lot of them since I lived here for 3 years. I just wanted to be back to Florida.
well, you're more than welcome, but
So you introduced me
You
to
don't-
Davis and you guys helped me out.
you don't necessarily have to bring up Mr. Davis, but thank you. All right, okay, thank you.
That's a good man right there.
Approval of the meeting minutes from August 28th of this year. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor McCormick, second by Councilor Camardo. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Approval of the minutes from August 28, 2014. Councilor McCormick?
Aye.
Councilor Camardo?
Yes.
Councilor Cuddy?
Yes.
Councilor Rosica?
Yes.
Mayor Quill?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you. City Manager's report.
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
Reports from members of council. Council McCormick?
I just wanted to report that I don't have a report. I did not have a watershed meeting this week, but I wanted to, I know this is kind of off the topic, but Mr. Iconis's remarks are, that's the message I've been trying to and will continue to try to get across to the city residents about the risk that we are at risk of our drinking water and our lake. It's definitely at risk. I guess that's a overused word, but he explained it so well as someone that's come in and looked at the lake, hadn't seen it in a long time. We're kind of getting accustomed to it being murky, filled with weeds. It's like a good day means it doesn't have film on the top of it. That's not a good day. it should be the way it was back when Mr. Iconis grew up and when we all, many of us, except for Mr. Cuddy, grew up on the lake. It's a serious, serious thing, and we've got to put a lot more attention and resources to it. Thank you.
Anyone else this evening? Very well. Seeker resolutions?
None here.
Ordinances?
None.
Local laws? Council Resolution Number 146 of 2014, authorizing the sale of a parcel of land at 5 Frederick Street. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Rozika, seconded by Councilor Camardo.
Land sale resolution number 146 of 2014. Whereas the city of Auburn is the owner of a parcel of land situated at 5 Frederick Street in Auburn, which was formerly the Frederick Street Fire Station. And whereas the city has notified the local board of realtors of the city's desire to sell the property, and as a result, 2 bids were received, and H. Ruth Burgerstock has offered the sum of $71,000 to acquire said property. Whereas the bid by H. Ruth Burgerstock was the highest bid received, and she has moved forward to obtain the necessary approvals of the zoning and planning boards of the city of Auburn, and is now in a position to acquire title. And whereas the parcel to be conveyed is surplus property not needed for city purposes. Now therefore be it resolved, the Auburn City Council does hereby approve the sale of 5 Frederick Street, Auburn, New York, to H. Ruth Burgerstock for the sum of $71,000, and does hereby authorize the mayor to sign any and all documents necessary in order to convey title to the premises.
Discussion? Councilor McCormick?
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. I wanted to reconfirm that the market value, the assessment was almost twice that, right, for this property?
Correct.
I don't recall, and I've looked at the minutes as to, it's a lot lower. Both bids were a lot lower. Is there any specific reason that you think it?
Several reasons. First of all, zoning. It's in an R1 zone.
Okay.
Secondly, it is a single-purpose building, and it has been empty for a number of years, and the market value on the market did not reflect the assessed value.
Okay, that's the assessment, okay. And the other thing is I wanted to just point out that I had to reach out to the people that work from the planning department with the planning and the zoning board. And Steve Selvik and Renee Jensen and Andy Fusco, our assistant corporation counsel, all worked. I'm just pointing this out. People wonder, what do they do in planning? And 5 months, I think it's been, each meeting for the last 5 months for the planning department. They've done the research. They've done a lot of the work on the seeker. They've done a lot of research to get this project to a point where it could be sold, and worked with the person that's interested in buying it to make sure that everything is, all the requirements are met. And I understand, too, that they've, the neighborhood within a certain perimeter has been contacted, and all the neighbors are in favor of it. So a lot of work was done to make sure that the right thing is done by the neighbors, by the city, and for the person that's buying the building. So I will be voting in favor of it.
Thank you, Mayor. It's good that we're taking a vacant piece of city property and going to be putting it in the hands so that this individual is going to be paying taxes on it, both cities, county, and school taxes. But I would like to amend the resolution on hand tonight to state that any monies received from the sale of this property would be used for a new public safety building in the community. As you heard last week, Christina Selvik, who's the head of our capital projects manager here at the city, came to the city. The fire chief's been here in the past, and also the police chief, talking about the need for a new public safety building. Some of the trucks that are going into the firehouse on Market Street are large trucks. They're having a problem with the floor there, and so it's I'm sure the city is going to be looking, at least we're going to be having discussions about a new public safety building in the future. So I'd like to make sure that these monies are earmarked. I know it's $71,000. It's going to cost a lot more it's going to be like $4 million, I think last estimates were, for a public safety building, but at least some of this money would be used for the planning and studying of a new public safety building in our community, and seeing it's coming from the sale of a recent firehouse here in the city that would be used for those purposes instead of going to the general fund.
Very well. Do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Councilor Zika. Clerk, do you have an idea of what the the amendment says?
Yeah, Councilor Camardo's proposing an amendment that the $71,000 would be earmarked towards a future public safety building project.
Either study or the plans for a new public safety building.
I would just ask that it be stated that the monies received, because there are expenses involved due to the fact that this was funneled through the Board of Realtors, and there is a real estate commission that's going to be payable.
Whatever
So
net- whatever-
I would say the net proceeds.
Is that agreeable, Councilor Zika?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Any discussion on this amendment, Councilor?
Just a question, which it's a great idea, but is that the proceeds from the sale, do they have to go somewhere else? Is there other things that it's already
Earmarked for?
earmarked for?
No.
Thank you.
It's my understanding they all go, any sale of city lands go into the general
General
fund.
fund, it's not, it wouldn't mess anybody's plans up. Did go and do
No,
this?
you'd establish a different account, a new account, I believe, right? Right, Doug?
Yeah, if you approve the capital plan, it includes the public safety building in there, and
It would go in there.
we'd establish an account and fund it with the net proceeds from this to start.
Okay.
Very well. Clerk, will you call the roll, please, in regards to the amendment?
Sure, for the amendment. Councilor McCormick?
Aye.
Councilor Camardo?
Yes.
Councilor Cuddy?
I'm going to vote no, because I do believe we do need a public safety building. I would like a new facility, but I would like to leave the choices of how our money is spent with the professionals at City Hall, such as our comptroller and our city manager. So I'm going to vote no for the amendment.
Councilor Ruzicka?
I think this is a very good idea. It's not a budget or really that much of an expected windfall, and I support it, so I will vote yes.
Mayor Quill?
I'm voting no for basically the same reasons as Councilor Cuddy, but I will have more to say when we take the vote on the entire resolution, or land sale, So the amendment is carried.
To 3-2 to amend.
3-2
Yep.
to amend, so, okay. Back to the original resolution, council resolution, discussion,
Well,
please.
can't take my vote back, but the point of my question was to see if the city manager had any objection to doing that, and I didn't get the sense that he did, so I was all right with it. That's why I asked the question. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Before we call the roll, council, it's a for vote because it's a land transfer. So just to be aware of that, so. If you call the roll in regards to the resolution number 146, please.
Sure. Councilor McCormick?
Aye.
Councilor Camardo?
Yes.
Councilor Cuddy?
I'm going to vote yes, because so much work has been put into this transaction. As I said, I don't particularly agree with the amendment, but I do agree with that this sale should go through, so I'm going to vote yes.
Councilor Ruzicka?
I agree that this is a good move. Gets a building that's not being used and will just deteriorate without use, and putting it back to a repurpose, so I will say yes.
And Mayor Quill?
I'm voting no on principle. I wish the folks that are purchasing, I wish them nothing but the best, and the city will do everything that we can to help them. I certainly don't want to discourage business. I spent many years at the fire department at this particular station, and I worked with some of the best firefighters that I've ever met. A couple of them are no longer with us. But it was a great opportunity to work there. It worked well. It should never have been closed by the city, and especially in the manner that it was done. So I'm voting no in principle and not in regards to transferring a property or helping a business to grow in the city of Auburn, so.
Carried.
Agreement Resolution Number 147 of 2014, authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement on behalf of the city of Auburn with the Auburn Large City School Districts for the assignment of school resource officers. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Camardo, seconded by Councilor Rozika.
Agreement Resolution Number 147 of 2014, whereas the City of Auburn and the Auburn Enlarged City School District have previously entered into agreements whereby the Auburn Police Department assigns police officers to act as school resource officers at designated schools of the Auburn Enlarged City School District in order to promote communication and cooperation and to establish a partnership amongst students. And whereas the assignment assists the school district to create a safe and secure environment for students and staff through law enforcement and to assist in identifying and referring students with specific needs through appropriate programs and counseling. And whereas the previous contract for services has expired and is necessary to renew a contract that will provide 4 school resource officers for the 2014-2015 school year, and that reimbursement for these services from the school district to the city shall be in the amount of $231,982. Now therefore be it resolved that the parties do hereby agree as follows. 1, that the Auburn City Council does approve an agreement between the City of Auburn and the Auburn Enlarged City School District effective September 1st, 2014, to provide for the assignment of 4 Auburn Police Department officers as school resource officers for the 2014-2015 school year. And 2, that the Auburn Enlarged City School District shall pay the sum of $231,982 as reimbursement for the cost of the officers so assigned for the 2014-2015 school year. And be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized to sign an agreement between the Auburn Enlarged City School District and the City of Auburn in order to provide the Auburn Police Department officers to be assigned as school resource officers for the 2014-2015 school year.
Thank you. Discussion, Councilor Camardo?
Doug, last year when this resolution came in front of council, there were some questions on what our total costs were in regard to this program. Are we reimbursed for 100% of our cost with this?
The chief, Nagel, who's here this evening, has negotiated with the school district to pretty much eliminate those additional costs that we were incurring. So if you have detailed questions, he's here to answer.
So we're pretty much going to be reimbursed
This should
for all of our
cover
costs?
The cost for the officers during the school year. Any supplemental services would be charged separately.
To the school district?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor
Just a logistics question. Every year, I think it comes up, this comes for a vote after school starts. Is that something we could do sooner, or is that just the timing with everything that comes up?
The chief's approaching the podium.
Oh.
What's that?
Pardon?
He didn't, I don't believe he heard your question, Councilor.
Oh. I wasn't asking the chief.
Well,
I was asking the...
Counselor was asking whether or not, why we are approving it after the start of the school year rather than before.
I mean, I only received it like 2 weeks ago to review it and stuff. Then I turned it over to...
It's a matter of your negotiations
Yep.
and when it's finalized and
Just
when
the
it's
timing.
presented.
Just timing, yeah, that's
Okay.
all it is.
It just seems like every fall, we get into a pinch. We've been in worse pinches with this issue, but it seems like it should be a done deal before school starts, to me. And if they're sending it late, then...
There were some details that the chief worked out.
Okay.
As you know, the school district asked that discussions start earlier in the year because of their budget process and their timing, which is different than ours. And there were some additional details that had to be worked out.
Okay.
But it's all effective as of start of the school year.
No, I understand that, but I just think just to be safe in the future, we should try to get it done before school starts, because the last year, it was a nightmare, to be honest, for people that didn't know if we're going to have crossing guards and SROs and all that. To get it done before school starts would be ideal, I guess.
Crossing guards are not part of this.
I know that, I understand that, but that was part of school starting last year. So I just thought it's September 4th. Thank you.
Counselor Rozika?
Chief, this program went pretty smoothly last year, didn't it? Yep, and we had some original negotiations, and those were all ironed out fairly quickly.
Yeah,
So I guess just to explain the distribution of the 4 officers to where they're assigned now, so that people understand where they're going to be placed.
there's still 2 at the high school, one at East or the junior high now, whatever.
Okay, so the coverage is
Same.
same. Okay, very good.
We rearranged them, or I rearranged them, but, you know, there's new officers are in different locations, just a little slice of life.
Okay, thanks.
Chief, the one officer, you had 2 at the high school, at the middle school, and then the other officer floats amongst the other?
Yeah, the elementary schools.
Elementary school.
Yep.
Okay.
That would be good information to have in our packet as background information. There's nothing on this for background information. Background information would be nice.
Is to the distribution of the officers?
Yeah, little information about the SRO program and, you know, beyond what the resolution is.
Anything else? Thanks, Chief. Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Counselor McCormick?
Aye.
Counselor Camardo?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Counselor Rusika?
Yes.
Aye.
Carried.
Table items,
Nothing, Mayor.
staff vendor presentations,
None this evening.
other business, council? Counselor Camardo?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Iconis for coming to council. I heard your remarks at the county a couple weeks ago. You did an excellent job making the community well aware of the problems that we have with with the lake and some of the problems we're going to be facing. It's an asset of the community. It provides drinking water for not only the city of Auburn, but for many of the towns in the area. So thank you for your comments tonight. I'm sure we're going to be having future debates and conversations about how we move forward with the protection of that great asset of our community. The second thing I'd like to ask the manager is, I know we've gone month, or at least a month now, is can you provide us with a schedule on how we're going to get back to our budget talks? I want to start seeing us take advantage of some of these light council meetings with, we can start talking about our budget once again and how we're going to look at cost containment for the city so that we're not looking to further burden on the taxpayers of this community with increased fees and taxes. So if you could provide us with a schedule within the next week or so of how we're going to move forward with some, at least having it on the agenda so that we can have communication on our budget and how we're going to move forward with that. And also, we talked a few weeks ago about our 5-year fiscal plan, how we're going to move forward with that, if we could give us a schedule of how we move forward with some of these talks. So I'd appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I had.
Counselor Cuddy?
I believe some of the topics I'm going to talk about also relate to Councilor McCormick and Councilor Camardo's concern about our water. I do believe that the council needs to be more vocal. I know that we have the Watershed Council, and I know we have AULA, but obviously it's considered by the DEC that Wasco Lake is considered an impaired water body. It doesn't seem like it's getting any better, so there needs to be a much more concerted effort to protect our lake. Which brings me back to the referenda that were shot down last week. I believe in spirit, I think they were good ideas, and I would like to propose that we immediately try to, within the next 6 months, create referenda that would be on the ballot for next November that would address basically the same concerns. The issues that I had with the referenda were their lack of specificity, particularly in the sewer and water. I believe that if the people of Auburn are going to vote to lease our sewer and water, that the public authority that has been discussed between the county and the city be named, and an outline of how that relationship between that public authority is going to proceed. My concerns about the particular referendum last week about the sewer and water supply of Auburn, I voted against it because I was not pleased with some of the language, such as privatization, and I think that left the referendum left the city vulnerable if years went by and we could lose our water supply to a private entity. So I wanted to try to redouble our efforts. I've been in discussions with our counterparts in the county legislature. They want to continue working with us. I also, before the meeting, I did express that just my vote was not so much against our working together, but I do want to try to use last week's vote as a spark to try to get the city and county to have a little bit more of a sketch before we vote for what we're going to do with sewer and water. And I think the main goal of the creation or the leasing of it should be water quality, the protection of our watershed. Those should be our main goals, and less about prices, because you really can't put a price tag on clean water. It is so important. So I think that instead of talking about CPI and how much a sewer and water costs, we need to really, for us to keep our lake clean, we need a lot of people on the ground inspecting it. We need a lot of protections. We need regulations that are enforced. So, this authority that may be overseeing it in the public trust, it may cost money, but it's going to save us in the long run, because water is a human right, and we need to protect it, and it needs to remain in the public trust.
Council, I had spoken with Mr. Selby during the week. From my viewpoint, I would like to have a work session dedicated strictly to water and sewer service, including the cleanliness, for lack of better terms, in regards to the lake. Some of our customers from the outlying areas have a concern as to the cost if we are overcharging or undercharging, whatever. I would like to get us in a situation where we do a rate study by an independent party as to what the rate study was, and then is a subset of that having what we feel, Councilor McCormick working on the different watershed in the different committees she works on, but what we would have to do to improve the quality of the lake, the protection of the lake. So I think if we, in my mind, I'm never right, but if we come up with a base rate as to what it's costing us, what it costs for our citizens, what it costs for our outlying areas, and then adding in the factor of better policing of the lake and the watershed. But I would like that all in one work session dedicated strictly to that, whatever Mr. Selby feels would be appropriate in that particular meeting. So that's would be my recommendation. Councilor Cuddy, I'll give you.
Mayor, I just wanted to add, is my idea or vision of having that being part of future talks with the potential authority as being not just about rates, but also about what you were just saying.
It's all inclusive, Councilor.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Councilor Zika?
We had some of that information made available to us when we had the regional talks. There was a firm that had come up and did a great deal of study determining what would be rates and how they would be handled. In fact, they gave us a couple options. So I think that information is very germane to what you're asking for, and we have a great deal of that already that should be used, since we did spend some money on it. I don't see why that can't be pulled off the shelf and revisited. And that's all I have on the water, but I have some other items as well.
Could I reply to your?
Sure.
I don't want to interrupt you, Counselor, but part of the problem is in what I'm hearing from our partners outside the city is they're concerned that our rates are not based on anything factual. It's almost like a pull it out of thin air. Regardless of the rate study that was done previously, Counselor, there's some of them that are still of the mind that it isn't accurate. So that's why my thought is if we had a completely independent party that all our partners were aware of, and just to try to level the playing field. So.
Well, I'd have to, again, refer to that effort that was done by an outside firm. The entire interested parties were fully involved and engaged in that discussion. For them to say that those rates that were achieved or arrived at in that study are inaccurate or bogus is beyond me. In fact, I think our current rates are not even close to that right now. So I think that study needs to be looked at again if we're going to revisit any water rates. And again, like I said, that was done by an independent firm with cooperation from all the interested parties that were looking to form a consolidated water supply.
Very well. I would request we look at this study, but at the same time, if we feel that another study is to be completed, that will be a decision of the council, not by
I understand.
either of us, sir. Okay, I'm not being flip with my answer. I'm just saying it's more than you and I have to weigh in on that particular item. So please continue. You had others.
Yeah, Doug, regarding the Denny's spreadsheet on powering the wastewater treatment plant, he looked at the cost of a NYSEG hookup versus the landfill gas generator. Have you and the comptroller sat down with that sheet and looked at it yet?
I have, yes.
Okay, so to me, what Denny laid out seemed to make the decision clear that almost to leave it alone versus the NYSEG costs, unless there's some information that I'm not seeing on that you may be privy to. So could you share with us the result of that analysis?
Well, there are some calculations that aren't quite accurate. For example, the wastewater plant already does pay 7.6 cents per kilowatt hour, so the additional charge is only an increment. It's not 40,000, it's more like 60,000.
Okay, and then what about I'm going to say the delivery charges on the power?
Assumption also that remote net metering will be allowed for the type of facility. To date, we have no confirmation that that bill or legislation has passed, so it's speculative at best that we'd actually be able to do what they're proposing in terms of the surplus power. And third factor is Vicki Murphy feels that the power quality from the generating station has caused operational problems with instrumentation. It's not as clean, I guess, as the power from the grid.
I guess I would have to see. I would assume that we got the correct switchgear and we're running at the correct frequencies, and we don't have any voltage spikes or whatever. I mean, that's what this generator should have been able or capable of doing. This is the first I've heard of I'm going to say an unstable power from this facility. It's never been brought up before. I'd like to see that we have an AMPA meeting coming up. If Vicki can elaborate on that during that meeting, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
Another question I have is the code software. It's going on nearly 2 years. This was meant and approved by council to reduce touch labor and allow for online access for permitting. When is that going to be rolled out? And is it going to be, obviously it's probably a couple revisions already behind now.
The project was affected by some personnel changes in the department, but it's actually operational internally. We haven't released it yet. I'll have to talk to Jenny about the schedule for bringing our first phase on, which is contractors. We want to train some contractors to use it first so they can get their permits and then open it up to the general public to apply for permits. So the data has been loaded into the software, it's operational, but it's in, I guess we'd call it a test phase right now.
It's in the beta phase, huh?
Yeah.
Is the codes counter still only open 2 days a week?
Yes, and that's, again, a result of the fact that one of the key people transferred out to DPW. That left a vacancy. Another person who was on a preferred list took that position, and then she took the position of secretary when that became available. And now we've got, I think as of today, Jenny had picked a preferred candidate for a keyboard specialist, allowing the counter to be open again. That person's supposed to start in 2 weeks.
Okay. And I see that the utility pole's finally been removed from in front of the college.
Yeah.
I just have a couple of questions here. First, it's just gravel right now. When is that going to be patched? Hopefully before winter.
I will find out.
And then, now this same incident's happened at least 3 times I can quickly think of. One which Councilor Camardo brought up a short while back. Another time on York Street, and now recently at this intersection on Franklin Street. So all these happened on road reconstruction projects, and I'm going to make a suggestion is why don't we begin site surveys during the road construction design phase. This way, if we have any utility poles or any other obstacle, we can get them relocated well before the road project is completed and avoid having to go in back and patches and perhaps even compromise new road surfaces.
We did that on this project. In fact, the problem was the pole owner, NYSEG, forgot to notify a fiber optic company that was on the pole. And so it wasn't Verizon, or it wasn't, well, it's kind of NYSEG's fault for not telling the fiber company. Once they knew, it was just a matter of days before they were able to get off and the pole got removed.
Is there any way that we can continue to put follow-up actions on these? Because it is somewhat embarrassing when you have constituents call you, especially early in the morning, complaining that there's a pole in the road.
Do our best.
Okay.
Counselor.
I'd like to respond to just a couple of comments that Councilor Cuddy made. First of all, 2 of the 3 resolutions were not shot down, they were tabled, Councilor, and the reason for tabling those was that we do have proper information in front of us, that we do have communication with our counterparts at the county, that we're moving ahead on these projects, we're doing them legally, and we're looking at all options, because anytime, unfortunately, you make a rush judgment, it's usually a bad judgment or a bad decision. And we need to take the time to make sure that we're doing the proper analysis, we have proper debate, that the public is informed, that our counterparts of the county are informed. So I thought the best situation that we as a council did was to table it so that we could have further debate. We could do those properly. It was unfortunate that they were brought to council way past the 11th hour, requiring a decision by council. And unfortunately, we shouldn't be making rushed decisions on such important issues as the 3 we were looking at last week. So as we move forward, you made some comments tonight that we need to look at different areas of how we move forward, if we're going to move forward with it, that we have proper debate as a council, public's informed, that we do things in the best interest of the residents of the city, while keeping in mind that we're doing things with a cost efficiency and cost containment, and we're looking out for the best of the taxpayers and the voters of the community. So I just wanted to make sure we set the record straight, that everybody realizes what actually happened last week, how we move forward with this, because I know the paper had a different opinion on it. I don't think they are well-versed on how we move forward as a council, why we moved in those areas, and I think that the record needed to be cleared up a little bit. So, thank
Councilor
you.
Kumar, I want to ask you something, and I'm not sure if I heard you correctly or not. Did you say that the council or the employees have done something illegal?
No, I says that we're doing things legally on
Okay.
certain steps that we move forward with the,
Okay.
no.
Old ears.
Pardon me, okay, yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Cuddy.
I want to respond to Councilor Camardo. I basically said, I mean, I voted twice. I voted 2 to table, and the second one was not brought, the civil or the
Water
was not even brought to the floor.
Water, you keep saying sewer, it's just water.
Well, water. But the thing I wanted to stress is that I understand what the city manager was trying to do, and as much as I disagree slightly with what he's doing, it's a call to action. And, we have, we as a council over the last few years have tried regionalization, and I think, there's a time to act. And what I was doing tonight was asking the city manager to basically, let's redouble our efforts now. I don't want to sit and wait. I think that if we act now, not in bringing another referenda up tomorrow or next week, but at least having the referenda drafted and drawn to something more specific that I think the public would have more confidence in voting for and having a clear idea. So I basically am suggesting that we begin to create a more clear outline of what that end product is going to be for civil service. And one of the things I was suggesting, if we do move forward with civil service, that within the resolution there be a protocol and workflow so that some of the concerns of timeliness and turnaround time between the city and the county, that's outlined in the resolution, so that we're not just kind of like relinquishing it without a clear plan of what to do. And I have expressed my reservations about AMPA as an agency representing the city. That I also would like to see come up as a referendum, seeing as Corporation Council said that is the only way to dissolve the organization. If we have to wait a year, we wait a year. County legislator Timothy Lattimore basically used the term mothballs. I think that that's an appropriate response to have it for at least this year. And I guess that's my concern. That's all I wanted to say about the referenda that did not get voted through last week.
Mayor, if I may just, on the civil service question, oddly enough, the first meeting is taking place next Monday with the county. We've been trying to put that together for an extended period of time. And as far as the protocol, I think the memorandum to the resolution sets forth the timeline that would occur in order for it to become final. And if I recall correctly, even if it were passed by council in resolution, it would not become final until like August of 2015.
Okay.
I got a question, if I could. August.
On the same topic?
August 15 of 15?
Yeah, right, because
You wouldn't go to referendum November of 15, correct?
well, I'm talking about the resolution that was presented last week. That would have been the timeline had it been
Or would it be
passed.
the year after? I see.
Yes, right,
So
right.
if it
So,
went- no, now-
so if you do it next year, it'll just be another year out, right?
Councilor Riziki, you've been pretty patient here.
Yes, regarding the water regionalization, to me, that all the details there have to be presented, ironed out, and approved by council first, and then a referendum drafted to give the people that really own it, which is the city taxpayers, the choice of what they want to do. Until we have everything settled, how it's going to work, how it functions, governance, everything else like that, fully defined and everyone fully informed, that's the time for a referendum, not prior to or hastily ahead of it. I think it needs to be done after all this discussion, and so everyone knows the full mechanics of it. This way here, the actual owners have the last word.
Anyone else?
Executive session?
Yes.
Councilor Cuddy.
All right, I've been waiting for the right time to bring this up. This is, as you may know, the county is passing a resolution about natural gas transportation, any kind of a byproduct of natural gas drilling, banning it on county roads. I would like to show support for some of our colleagues in the county and ask that Corporation Counsel and the city manager reinstate the ban, primarily because we have the report that has come back that said that all along our wastewater treatment plant should not have been accepting natural gas drilling wastewater, and I would like to see a ban come back in place. And it's timely because the county is also voting on similar legislation.
I didn't realize the ban was rescinded
The ban was rescinded.
Oh, yeah.
last year.
2011 or 2000.
We'll get the details.
2000.
I'd like to see that myself, because I'm
Right after,
confused on that myself.
it was rescinded. I'm
It was rescinded
Was rescinded by who, though?
by the
Council.
city council.
city council.
But the DEC had to, or the EPA, somebody had to approve it before anything could happen, because they were doing a
Head end analysis.
head analysis,
Headworks
correct?
analysis, yes. We
And that-
received that
that would-
report.
Pardon me?
We received the Headworks analysis report and said that we should not be accepting natural gas drilling
We
wastewater.
continued to do it.
Have we?
We have not continued because the DEC and the EPA have
Said no.
intervened.
They said no.
Yes, but as a governing body,
We should, oh, I see.
I want to have this, to reinstate the ban.
How would we accept it if the EPA and DEC said no, though?
I don't believe.
They could change their
we
minds
accepted
just as
anything.
much.
No, that's why I'm
We don't have
confused
any
on it.
haulers that bring it here.
Right.
As a
If I might,
gesture of support to the counties.
As a gesture of support to the county.
the actual report did leave a little crack open if the city wanted to undertake some detailed studies that we could petition to take the waste against. So they didn't say absolutely no, never can you take this, but they expressed a lot of reservations about it. And I think it was my recommendation that we not pursue the studies because of the cost of doing it, the uncertainty of doing it, and the fact that these drillers have obviously found somewhere else to take their wastewater, and they're probably not going to come back anyway, so.
And so I guess there was a ban in place that was rescinded in 2012. I would like to see a ban come back in place that acknowledges the Headworks analysis and shows that, not only was it public opinion, not only was it the people's coming to city council chambers, but also it was a report, an independent report that outlined that we should not be accepting this natural gas drilling wastewater.
Okay.
Fine.
If everyone else has done, a letter to the editor today caught my eye, and Chief, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I'm going to throw this out there. A person was complaining about truck traffic on 38, which, the way they described it's outside the city, I'm fully aware of that. But do we still have our truck team, for lack of better terms, to do the stops? Is that still in operation? Do we ever coordinate with, probably the state police, I guess, would be the next nearest one, to do a spot check now and then? I know we just can't sit there, because it's really not proper, I would imagine, but is there a way we do work with the state police?
We coordinate with the state, state DOT, and using the state DOT, if they want to expand it, they can reach out. Because state police a lot of times do their own things.
Okay.
It's a possibility.
Once again, that brings us back to the water quality. We have a accident of a vehicle for whatever reason, no matter what size the vehicle is, it could be potentially harmful to the lake and to our water. So this has been a problem all the way up to Washington and back down, but sometimes a little preventative medicine is helpful in that regard, so. Anyone else? We have a request for executive session?
I haven't.
No. Council? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilor Cuddy, second by Councilor Camardo, excuse me. Call the roll, please.
Sure, motion to adjourn. Counselor McCormick?
Aye.
Counselor Camardo?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Counselor Rosica?
Yes.
Aye, we're adjourned. I was going to say recess. Thank you.